Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Game Logic from the Rounding Off Infinity Gaming channel on YouTube, one of the co-hosts of the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube. Back with another episode. This is episode number 435. Back with another episode of the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast. This is episode number 435 for Sunday, the 24th of May, 2026. And here with me, as usual, I have my stalwart partners in crime. First of all, Mr. Towelmaster 99.
What's going on, everybody? I thought you were going to say something else after that. I'm here. I'm full of grilled meats, and I'm ready to go.
Nice. You guys are up in the frozen tundra of the north. Did you do brats?
Yes, I did actually today. I did.
So one of my favorite things off the grill.
Hot dogs, chicken, had a little bit of everything. I didn't have all that. I mean, I grilled that.
Nice. And from the other part of the northern frozen tundra, Mr. DBQ Hams, how you doing, DBQ?
I had some smoked brats. I put them on the smoker, let them slow cook, let the fat kind of dissolve, have them kind of boil in some beer. Pretty good. But at the same time, I am nowhere near at the energy level of the 1.5 speed that Game Logic is at when he starts this podcast. I'm like, let's go. We got lots to talk about, but it is true. We have plenty to talk about tonight, and I am so glad that all three of us are here to be able to talk about it.
We do have a lot. I'm coming in hot. My oldest kid has done me proud. So we had been watching we'd been watching all of the MCU. We'd completed Infinity War, I think at the tail end of last year. So we've been doing the Multiverse Saga, which is a bit of a slog in the beginning because you got to get through the TV shows, which we didn't really do a lot of for Infinity Saga. But, they had to get through Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we're into Loki now. And Loki is a particularly slow burn at the beginning. But the oldest kid wanted to go back and, because I think they've seen, I can't remember if they've seen No Way Home or whichever was the third Tom Holland movie, or she's at least aware that the other Spider-Men are in there. So she wanted to go back and watch the other Spider-Man movies. So this Memorial Day weekend, she was watching. She watched the first one yesterday by herself, and then this afternoon she wanted me to watch the second one with her. So I was a little penned up right up against go time for the podcast. So without much further ado, because we've done a lot of ado, let's go ahead and get started with segment one, our main gaming experience stories for the week. And DBQ is starting us off with something on the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a game that I talked about when it came out in its demo, and a game that has been doing some of the press tours in some podcast circuits over the last week. It's also a game that I had a chance to talk with the developer back in 2022. So this is Bubsy 4D. Fabraz is the developer. Had a chance to talk with Fabian of Fabraz. This is the Demon Tides developer. So it is a very kind of fast and fluid platformer. If you're not sure what that is, they've been out there talking about it as an expressive platformer. The idea that you can tackle different platforming challenges differently based on the tools that you have available to you in the game, that it's not necessarily based on the unlocks or the linear progression of a map, that it allows you to string together combos, which is true, which is very true. It also allows you to string together those combos incorrectly. And so one of the nice things about this is that it does really kind of open up your whole play set to you, your whole move set to you early, and then it becomes, the onus is on you, the player, to be able to master the controls, the button prompts, the kind of platforming chops that come with this. So this is Bubsy 4D. Bubsy 3D came out infamously back on the PlayStation 1. Developed by the studio that would go on to become the Siphon Filter developer and Ben Studios. That this is the legacy of Bubsy 3D, but also Bubsy 4D grabs a variety of things, but also really kind of lives on its own. Like, I remember renting Bubsy 1 from my local video store back in the 90s, and it was very much a video store rental type of game of like, oh, this looks pretty, but the controls are not precise and it's frustrating. So I don't feel bad about paying $2 and losing my allowance for the week and turning it back in, right? Bubsy 4D is a very fluid platformer. There's a demo out there on all platforms. Like, if you're not sure about it, go play the demo. The demo does a great job of capturing the movement. This is not a big collectathon. This is not a kind of masso platformer where you're getting punished for everything. This is very much, there are places that will punish you, but also there are lots of places that allow you to have the flexibility to do what you want. And so there, in Bubsy's moveset, you've got like a spin and a dash and a double jump. And some of these things they unlock very quickly. And so it allows you to start to figure out how you're going to navigate this world. And that, I think, is the enjoyment that I'm having out of it, is that it's not necessarily, I'm not going into this for some big revelatory kind of Bubsy narrative that's going to wrap up 25 years of Bubsy history all in one spot, right? Like, I am going into this for some fast-moving action 3D platformer. And Fabraz and company totally nailed that for me, is that this is a very fluid game. This is a game that works well on controller. I have no idea. I've played it on the Steam Deck. I cannot imagine how this would play on mouse and keyboard in terms of just controls. I mean, it runs very smooth on Switch 2, Steam Deck. So it is not necessarily graphically pushing. It is, I think this is a really interesting space that it does in terms of Bubsy 3D was this early PlayStation game that the graphics were very abstract because of the nature of what it was and what it needed to be in order to maintain any type of third dimension movability. Bubsy 4D is minimalistic in terms of some of its, what you would expect in terms of some of its areas. Like, there are lots of backdrops that just bring you back to space. Like, the landscape is detailed, and it's all kind of cell shaded in terms of its environment, and like it's very detailed and it looks great, but it also is not this like huge skybox and you see it, you can go there type of world. It's very confined, and it works. And also, it's very confined, and it's $20. So if you enjoy a 3D platformer like Bubsy 4D, try the demo out. It's $20. It's, a lunch or two at work, depending on what the cost is. Like, that's exactly how I thought of it. Of like, well, okay, I'm going to skip a couple lunches and I'm going to pay for this because I enjoy this game, but I also want to support the development of indie studios. And it's I'm having a lot of fun on Switch. It's taken the place of another game of keeping me up at night. So, and that other game is Forza Horizon 6. So whether or not we want to move into that, or if you have any questions about Bubsy, we'll go from there.
I didn't have any questions about Bubsy. Do you, Tal?
I guess the only thing I was wondering about, so it's not, like you said, it's not an open world. Is it just like big worlds then, or?
Yeah, it's big 3D spaces where you have to an objective to get to in terms of, it's very much built on speed running, but there are there are things to collect, but it's not like a N64 kind of collectathon where it needs you to collect 24 of these yarn balls to open the next gate, right? So it allows you the opportunity to slow down if you want to explore and collect, but it also does a really good job of propelling you forward in terms of keeping the momentum, almost like a, right? Like if Bubsy was created in the space between Mario 3D or Super Mario World and Sonic 2. And so if you think about Bubsy in historically having the space of wanting to have more speed than Mario, but also not wanting to have so much speed that you can't slow down and explore, I actually feel like Bubsy 4D kind of hits that in terms of a 3D platformer. Like it feels like an it feels like an N64 type of platformer in terms of its density. Its graphics fidelity are better than that, but it also does not gate you behind some of the rareware collectathons that it did before.
All right, DBQ. If we're going to move on to Forza Horizon 6, I will let you start since I gave a pretty good preamble last week.
Okay, I want to hear some more about your thoughts. So I am now in my blue wristband stage. Like I have just raced the mech. I am in the blue wristband. I am finding myself like I just want to play more of it. But also, if I think about it critically, I am not sure why I want to play more of it. Like it is incredibly enjoyable. So here's the trajectory that I have gone over the course of the last week is that I went back and re-downloaded Forza Horizon 5, plugged in, played some of that a little bit in terms of getting a sense of what the handling feels like and the progression. Actually went back and played some The Crew Motorfest on PS5 and played some different modes there, and then played some Forza Horizon 6 and went back to Forza Horizon 4 to make some comparisons in terms of density of landscapes and traffic. And right now on my Xbox, I've got Forza Horizon 4, 5, and 6 installed. And at the end of the night, I find myself coming back to 6. And it's not necessarily that it's all new stuff. It is that it feels like I can see the evolution of it. Like I can see the refinement of the way that the interface works, the way that the progression works. I can see the refinement in there. And at the same time, when I shut it off and I walk upstairs to go to bed, or I think about it at work the next day, it really feels kind of sterile. Like I am enjoying driving through Tokyo City, but also it feels like, and there are other places that have talked about this being kind of a whitewashed area, or not even in like the terms of racist, but it's just everything is polished up so much so, and that's the nature of Forza Horizon. But like I'm loving going through a city, just like Game Logic's traffic here and video progression here. Like it is great. I actually played with this car the other night. But when I stop and think about it, it feels very much like an idealized version, which is understandable. It feels very much like everything is polished up, and there's not a lot of character to the space. And so that's part of the push and pull that I'm feeling. Like I love the city racing more, and I this is definitely something that I was missing in Forza Horizon 5. And going back to 5 to check on that, I am like racing through the city is so nice, and it feels good and it looks good. And at the same time, when I'm driving around and in between things, like it feels very just sterile, and not necessarily in a like, it doesn't mean it's not fun. It just means like it feels like I'm missing some of the same character that I felt in 4 and 5. And at the same time, I'm loving it. So that's my take. Like, I feel like the controls are really good. I can tell you that going back to comparing it to Forza or to Forza 5 feels good. Not drastically different in terms of the similar presets. I think moving to the Crew Motorfest, the Crew is still a very approachable arcade type of racer, and Forza 6 really feels like it has the potential, or it puts that in that space where you can just play on rookie or beginner and have a more intro level, or you could play at a more advanced spot and need to tweak some more. Definitely have seen some of the criticisms online of once you get into the higher difficulty drivatars, it definitely seems like, even just looking at videos, like there is some breakdown in the AI in terms of consistency and fairness. But that's at a very high level of play based on what I'm seeing elsewhere. So game logic, that's my quick 6-minute breakdown of Forza Horizon 6 after a week. How does that compare to your week 2 of Forza Horizon 6?
Similar. I mean, like the thing that you mentioned about, it feels very sterile, coincides with, comments I made last week and kind of how I've been feeling about the game, which is just that like a lot of the character of Japan just doesn't come through in the game. Not in the same way that Forza Horizon 5. I felt very much more so cultural elements of Mexico, right, and of Latino culture, much more so in Forza Horizon 5 than I feel in this game. And and some of that might be, and I think about even in Forza Horizon 4 when we're in the UK and in Latin America, you have these elements where you have these different segments of the cities, right, where you're kind of in the old part of town and there's like cobblestone or like brick streets, and then you get on something like this, which is more high tech and modern, and you see those different shades, right, of different areas of the city. And like when you're in Tokyo, it all looks like this, and that may match reality, but it's also just another part of the element of like stuff just doesn't come through. And then there's things that are more that Playground's more culpable of, right, in that, and just lacking that translation coming through. Yeah, and I mean, and I'm in the same place. There's just not a lot of. It's very much perfection of a formula. And what's worrisome or bothersome to me is like this is now the second time that we've said that, right? Because we said that with Forza Horizon 5, because this real framework kind of comes along with Forza Horizon 3, and then 4, and then 5 is kind of got a lot of laurels for perfecting that formula, and now we're perfecting it more again. So, and I go back to like all the conversation around, this being in the Game of the Year discussion, and I'm like, that's just a really low bar, right? I think if we're going to talk about a racing game being in the Game of the Year conversation, it should, because it's a racing game that does something highly innovative and rips the hood off of things, right? This game is very much in its Need for Speed, right? Late years is exactly the analog that I think of. It's like, you like playing Need for Speed and it's fun, but you're never going to play a Need for Speed game and go, this is innovative. Like, this is hugely changing like the racing genre, and I'm like, you guys are talking about raising a game up and putting it head and shoulders with things like Resident Evil Requiem, Pragmata, Claire Obscura Expedition 33, like God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2. Like what are we like? That's no. Like, what are we talking about? So, and again, it's like the game's fun in its like obstacle course level fun, right? But it's not like it's not awe-inspiring to me. It's not, So I mean, on a scale, where I am is, this game sits in the 90s in Metacritic, and to me, it's like an 80 game. It's graphically buffed up. It looks beautiful. It looks gorgeous. I'm not super happy about its performance on the console, but that's a thing. But I mean, there's very few things that they did right, and I mean, and the other analog I have for this is it's also very much kind of in this Madden phase, where there's a lot of historical things here that have been wrong for a very, very, very long time, for a decade, right? Since Forza Horizon 3. And we're forgiving of Madden for those things. I mean, we're not really forgiving of that. We call those things out on Madden.
Yeah.
Well, what we always say is it's an annualized release, right? So there's that little shard of space where we give it some grace. And the problem here is this is not an annualized release, right? This is 3 years since Forza Motorsport. It's 5 years since Forza Horizon. The thing you mentioned about the Drivatar AI, I don't think it's you don't have to get that high up in difficulty before the AI is banging you in the 3/4 panel going into a turn, which it's been doing for 10 years. And I don't know, you guys may have saw it when I was on the street on the Cadillac after the race, but there was a Drivatar that came along and did the exact thing that the Drivatars do now in the open world, which is that when you're in the open world and you're heading towards a Drivatar, and in this case, I had barely even started moving. The Drivatars actually turn in towards you. I'm like, what is that? And so,
the aggressiveness of that all,
for no reason, right? And then what is super frustrating to me in the era of the conversations going on now, up until this thing of like we're turning off like the co-pilot project effort on Xbox, I'm like, you guys as a corporation are through the roof and 10 feet deep in the river about AI. And I'm like, but you're not using AI to improve the intelligence of the cars. The big problem with the AI, and maybe I mentioned it last week, but like what happens in this game, and again, this has been going on for 10 years, is when you crank up the difficulty level, it just applies more horsepower and torque to the AI cars. They don't drive any better.
No.
It makes them go faster.
Yep. They've got a higher top speed, right?
Right.
Like, you could blow past them on a corner, but they will catch back up to you, both running top speed.
Yeah. So I mean, it's major rubber banding, right? And I'm like, in most races, like when you look on the track small radar and you look at the cluster of cars, like all the cars stay close. Like this never gets like some other racing games or like real races where the lead cars like get way out in front, right? And there's a big gap between them and then like the mid pack. It's like everybody kind of stays within a certain car length of each other in the pack. And so like I said, there are things that are good, but there are the lack of progression forward makes me pay a lot more attention to the things that the game got wrong in this iteration, and also make me pay attention to a lot of the things that are problematic. So I haven't raced the Gundam yet because I off-tracked this week to play a lot of the festival playlist stuff, which in a decade of the game and in 4 iterations, there's no explanation of what the festival playlist is or what it does or how to play through it.
Right? Like I played 2 races and then went to go do the Gundam, and it told me I'm going to lose all my progress.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that. And there are things like when you go into events in the festival playlist, there are like 3 different card UIs depending on where you are on the screen. There's the one that's in the festival playlist from the campaign menu. Then there's the card that you get when you hover over the thing on the map to lay your waypoint. Then there's another card that's presented when you're at the event before it starts. All 3 of those cards present different information about the festival event. And I'm like, one of the things that's frustrating, and in particular, this is the festival event thing that hit you with the, you're going to lose your progress, is some of the festival events are championships. So they're like 3 or 4 events, or sometimes 2. The place you see the number of events is on the card presentation screen when you're about to start the race. You don't see that anywhere else. So when you go to the festival playlist and when you hover over it on the screen, it doesn't tell you how many events are in that championship series. The first way you figure it out is when you select the first event and you're going there, it drops the icons on the screen with this animation and the sound. And then you can see, okay, you hear boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's 3 events, right? But you memorize that, right, while you're driving cross country, sometimes 5-10 miles, right, to get to the thing, encountering all sorts of stuff in between. My point being, often you forget by the time you get there. And then if you don't remember to look at the screen where it is in really small text, right, like in smaller font, buried somewhere amongst the other busy text on the UI, like then you don't remember that there's, and so you drive these events and you're like, oh, wait a minute, was it 2 events or 3 events? And as you can see, the icon color schemes are very close. There's tons of icons all over the screen. For all the complaining people make about Ubisoft games, this game has way more. I heavily use that filter feature, but a lot of times, like you sometimes forget what the icons look like, right, when they dropped. So it's just like, it's things like that. And again, that's a thing that's been in the game since Forza Horizon 3, at least. This game does a lot of things that Project Gotham Racing, tons of stuff that are in this game are things that were lifted from the Project Gotham Racing series. So again, in the discussion of, game of the year, I'm like, so I don't know, it's fun. But it just doesn't push the art forward. It doesn't push the genre forward. It doesn't fix a lot of the mistakes that have been endemic mistakes that have been there for 11 years, 10 years, sorry. So that's kind of where I am on it.
So I think I don't disagree with you at all. I think one of the things that I thought about this week, because I really struggled with how I feel about this, because at the same time I see its limitations and feel like it hasn't gone as forward as far as it could, but also every time I'm in it, I'm enjoying it completely, right? Like there's nothing negative about the in-game experience, but if you have a sense of what it, go ahead. What were you going to say again, Mark?
Except for the AI, when you're trying to win a race and the AI is banging you in the 3/4 pound on the corner of the turn.
Oh, so true. Okay, so other than cheating AI, like the way the car handles, the way your speed is, like just the act of driving feels really good, and the way that the menus and the interface move you from one race to a next and one series of events to a next is so much smoother than what it was in 4 and 5. Like I one of the things, like I went back to my map in 5 and there is so much that I never did because I got like decision paralysis of like there is so much on this map, I don't even know where to go next. Like what's meaningful? Where this game, and I eventually shut this feature off of the what to do next, where it pops up and gives you like 3 suggestions of what to do. Like I eventually shut that off because I just want to look at my map and choose something. But even the fact of putting that in front of me helped narrow my focus, where I was going in between so many things in Forza Horizon 5 that I mean, I'm glad I reinstalled it because I remember how much I have to do, and it's still a lot of fun. I think one of the things that I thought about with this game is how many new players are coming to this from PlayStation 5, and if the only time that you've experienced this game is Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation, this feels like a legitimate next game. Like there's a next step. Like I don't feel that we see nearly as much stagnation because we're not looking at it over the course of 4 different games. Like if you were a PlayStation only player and this is your second experience to Forza Horizon, I think there's a lot of good here. I mean, I think there's a lot of good here in general, but it is also a game that is hard to recommend if you haven't wrung every single bit of life out of previous Forza Horizon games, because what it's doing is not drastically different. Like if you enjoyed what you did and you still have more to go back to, fire it up, play it. Like if you've played through all of it, like Game Logic talked about last week, like after playing hundreds of hours of the other Forza Horizons, yeah, it makes total sense that this game is a game that you're going to invest some time in. And in my case, where I have plenty of things left on my map in my other games, as much as I am really enjoying and appreciating the quality of life changes, the on the road changes in terms of racing don't feel that drastic that I'm missing out going back to 4 or 5 and not jumping on the bandwagon for 6 immediately.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the value add is in the quality of life stuff. Like having fast travel without, and again, they didn't charge you like a ton for using fast travel, but like having fast travel at no cost is like
it's super
huge.
convenient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, some of the
Especially
things
when like you have a family member who is like needing you, or a child who is up from bed and you need to fast travel rather than lose your spot.
yeah, or you know, that last race of the night or whatever. You know, and I agree with you. Like it's the on the road experience that doesn't change a lot, but like the on the road experience is kind of a little bit like we used to talk about Destiny 2's gunplay, right? You can be mad about tons of stuff about Destiny 2, but you're always going to say, oh, but the gunplay is really good, you know? And so
it's so true. Like that's a great example of like, yeah, it's not that different, but boy, is it enjoyable.
yeah, and I mean, just like Destiny 2, it's like, you know, again, a lot of our grousing is about it when we're out of the game, right? But then when you go and you're playing an adventure, then right, you just remember kind of, you know, that glee and that joy. And I absolutely agree with you. If you're on your second iteration, you know, my lens is one that's colored by, again, having played this franchise for 21 years. If this is only your second iteration of the game and PlayStation players don't have their hands on it yet, if this is only your second iteration of the game, you're probably going to be fine. In your mindset is going to be, hey, last time I played in Mexico and this time I'm going to a new locale. A thing that would be great for this game, and I've kind of talked about the fact that I think Xbox will eventually move in this direction. A thing that would be great for this game is if this game got Call of Dutied up, meaning if it were all one UI for the launch and you had access to Forza 3, 4, 5, and 6 all from the same launcher. And eventually, quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, for 7, like you could do a collector's version that just packs everything, you know, and maybe even, you know, goes back and moves the 3, 4, and 5 assets into the current version of the Forza Tech engine and just let people have access to all that content. I don't know how big that would be. I was going to say, DBQ, now that you have Forza 4, 5, and 6 installed, don't ever uninstall them. Because the pain involved with installing those 100 gigabyte plus size packages, I've decided if, you know, once I install those things, I'm never uninstalling them again.
It's on Forza 5 is like 160, Forza 6 is 140, 150, and Forza 4 I think is maybe 80 at this point, which goes all the way back to like the Xbox One X release back in 2018. So yeah, it takes up a big chunk, but it really has been useful in terms of trying to understand my feelings about this game and the progression of this game as a development cycle. Like there's so much good in this game, and at the same time it feels like a lot of it I have played before. It just is a different venue. And so yeah, I give me a Forza Horizon launcher that, you know, granted that's even going to dwarf the Call of Duty launcher at this point if all 3 of those games are there. But the idea of bouncing back and forth would be great. Like that's, yeah, as much as I feel like about this game, at the same time, even with other games on my, even with other new games launched, I usually end up coming back to at least one race at the end of the night because it's just enjoyable. And yeah, I mean, that other game is a game that came out this week, which is the new Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight. So, any other questions on Forza Horizon? Other comments before we move into the next game?
I didn't have any other comments. Tao, we've been talking for a while. Did you have any questions or comments?
The only question I had is since you have 4 and 5 back on there, and I don't know if you played it like over days or through the whole week, kind of bounced back between the three. Like when I played 5, I guess I played a little bit of 4, maybe a couple weeks before 5 came out, and I was like, graphically it seemed it was better for the most part. But seeing these kind of back to back, do you see any huge graphical improvements, or it's kind of just like that slight, kind of with like everything else, it's kind of just like a slight improvement?
In terms of graphics, like I can tell the difference jumping from 4 to 6. When I played 6, I'm playing on Xbox One, or I'm playing on Xbox Series X. So I started on quality mode, running at 30 frames per second, and everything looks great. Looks beautiful. And then I moved it down to performance for 60 frames per second, and I'm driving a whole lot better. And so when I look at the performance mode for 6 compared to the performance mode for 5, it doesn't feel drastically different in terms of, it doesn't look drastically different that I'm noticing. Like, and part is the landscape is different. Like the lighting is better in 6. Like when I get out into the woods and in the trees in Japan versus in Mexico, I can definitely see the lighting coming through the trees better. But in terms of like most of the time, when you're driving 160, 180 miles per hour, you're not looking at the landscape. You're trying to pay attention to the next curve so that you don't go flying off. And when I think about it in that way, like my car definition doesn't look drastically different. Game Logic, what is your thoughts on visual fidelity?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, minor upgrades. I've only played in quality mode, so I've been telling myself I need to shift to performance mode on the console and see if, like you said, like that, I know on PC when I, made the big leap to right where I was playing racing games at like 144 frames per second, the immediate thing I noticed was I was like, I can see and feel like every inch of slide in a turn, right? That makes me more accurate because it's not skipping that frame that in that distance that you travel. So you feel much more connected to like where exactly the car is in the turn. So that's something I need to check out. Tao, anything else before we move on to Lego Batman?
Nope, go ahead.
So DBQ, go ahead and take us yet again another timely discussion point because I was just watching The Dark Knight last weekend. So
nice, yeah. Okay, so this is, man, this game is fun, but you also know what you're getting, right? Like, okay, so this is Traveler's Tales, who has done Lego games since the early 2000s with Lego Star Wars. The last game they did was Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Legacy or Skywalker Saga. So this is also co-developed by Rocksteady. And that makes a really big difference. So I played and have still installed the Lego Star Wars game from 22 or 23 whenever it came out. And I think one of the things that Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight does better, just from the get-go, is it tells a quote-unquote original story, right? Like, it is not trying to go go through the general beats of the narrative of the movies, where Lego Star Wars did, even if they weren't spot on and they interpreted things. This is like you threw Tim Burton's Batman, Joel Schumacher's Batman, Nolan's Batman, all in a blender, and you mushed them all up together, and you sprinkled on top some DC Comics, and maybe a little bit of animated series, and it is incredibly familiar, but also not necessarily going beat by beat by anything that has come before it. And so you get this kind of amalgam of the Nolan's Dark Knight Batman origin, with falling in a cave and then going out to Nana Parbat to train with Raja Ghul, and but also mushed in with Tim Burton's Jack Napier Batman, and the comic adventures of, bringing in the mob and Falcone, and like all of it mushes together. And at the same time, when you get into combat, it is XX counter, flip over the top of somebody, dash, build up your meter, do a special attack. Like it is I'm trying to remember who said this, whether it was GameStop or GameSpot or Video Games Chronicle, but basically calling the combat Arkham Light. And it's very much that. And that's not a knock. Like, it's super fun. And it is like, if you've played the Arkham games before, even in the Nana Parbat opening kind of tutorial stage where you're going through training, you are, if you've played Arkham before, you're going to flip into a grate and crawl through a tunnel and pop back up behind somebody, right? Like, and you're going to jump up on a gargoyle and dash down on top of somebody and dash back up on the gargoyle to not get caught. Like, it is not as complicated as the Rocksteady combat, but it plays with all those themes. And so if you enjoyed that combat, I enjoyed Warner Brothers Montreal's Gotham Knights from a few years back, 2022, 2023, right? This is the Batman is Dead, and you play as Robin and Red Hood and who else, right?
I think it was.
Nightwing and Barbara Gordon.
You said Red Hood, right? And Tim Drake.
Yes, there we go. Thank you, everybody. Good spot check on our Batman lore here. So, right, like I enjoyed that because it is pretty much the same combat, and also I enjoy those characters. But this is I found myself, I've chuckled a few times. I've definitely smiled. Like, I am not laughing out loud in the night playing this game, but it is, I'm enjoying it. It's very lighthearted. It's also really designed for 2 players, except for kind of the driving at this point. Feels like most of the exploration and puzzle solving and combat is very 2-player heavy. You have the ability to jump back and forth between 2 characters, but certain characters have different attacks, and so as you're solving kind of environmental puzzles, you're going to need those characters to do their special attack or their ability. So it doesn't require, and it doesn't feel like I'm missing anything by not playing 2 players. But if my kids were 10 years younger, would definitely be playing this, in the evenings, poking around, exploring Gotham as Batman and Commissioner Gordon, or Batwoman, or Catwoman, and like all the other characters that end up coming up into this game. Like, it does a really good job. So I'm enjoying it. It's not super revolutionary, but if you have either enjoyed the lightheartedness of the Lego games, or you've enjoyed the combat of the Rocksteady games, I think there's something here in Lego Batman, the new Lego Batman that you'll probably resonate with.
Cal, you got any questions or comments?
Yeah, a couple questions. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of mentioned already that's, since it's a Lego game, it's funny in its places. But I guess, is it the overall, does it seem like it's funny, or is it just kind of at points it's kind of like, oh, that was kind of funny, or is it more Lego, like a guy walking around with a coffee cup all the time or something, like in the old ones, or just kind of goofiness?
There's definitely some slapstick to it in terms of some of the things. There's also some kind of, if you understand the references, like here are the cops who are taking bribes from Falcone, but instead of being money, they are donuts, right? Like, it is, oh, get some of this sweet dough, yeah, right? Like, so it is, if you, it plays on different levels, and so there is definitely some slapstick, but it's hitting at different points where if you have an understanding of what the kind of in canon reference would be, like it feels like it hits nicely in terms of Batman lore.
Okay. And then are you just like in an open world Gotham, or is it more linear as far as gameplay?
I'm only probably a couple hours in. So you're on Gotham and you're opening up islands after islands. So your first island is relatively small, and you start opening up, and so that does become more open world, but not like suddenly drop you into all of Gotham to run around and get lost in.
All right, guys. Well, if that covers all of our gaming experience main titles, let's move on to our to segment 2, our main news headlines. The first one, time to pour one out for Destiny 2's active development ending in June. And DBQ, you want to cover this one?
Yes. My Cade 6 says goodbye, everyone. So, yes. So this is over. This is pretty much anywhere at this point. It hit on Thursday afternoon, and as some of the follow-up news seems to report, like not everybody at Bungie was aware that this was being announced. So this is that active development around Destiny 2 is going to be done as of June 9th. So on June 9th, there will be one final update with a whole lot of additional updates coming out of it. Or not a whole lot of additional, but some additional modes and quality of life pieces coming out of it. A rework of the portal and going back to the director. If those words mean anything to you, congratulations for staying involved with Destiny over the last couple of years. The difference, what happened after the final shape and new light or whatever it was called in 2025. Edge of Fate was 2025, and that it took kind of the traditional kind of map structure of Destiny and put it in almost more like a launcher mode that funneled you into certain types of events depending on what you wanted to experience, rather than letting you go and select out locations. And so those locations will be coming back. It does not look like all the vaulted material will be coming back at this point, in terms of the Red War or anything else like that. But it's adding some things that sound like they were planned for future updates in terms of some of the additional exotic weapons and some of the class abilities that you'll get, along with we get a little bit of an update in some some rewards out of the Crucible, which is the PvE, and there's actually an update to, oh, I forget what even the PvPvE
Gambit.
Gambit, thank you, mode is. And then at the final piece is that there will be Sparrow Racing coming back, which Sparrow Racing was your little speeder bike type of thing, which there was a mode back in Destiny 1, all the way in, like, I will want to say year 1 of Destiny 1 that had Sparrow Racing, and that's coming back in some capacity as well. So yeah, a number of things. Like, if this was all just an update, I would be very excited about it. But being an update and also the end of life, basically for Destiny 2, feels a little bittersweet. As someone who joined this podcast back in 2024 as band of gamers and talking about Destiny, or 2014, there we go, I got there eventually, right? Like, Destiny brought me into this community with you both, and so I feel that it feels a little bittersweet to be noting the end of it. I think one of the other kind of knock-on stories here is the reports and what started off as sounding like rumors but feels more substantiated as it's been confirmed versus multiple sources, that the multiple hundreds of Bungie employees are looking at some type of layoffs based on current development cycles, right? Like, they are working on season 2 of Marathon. There is not another Destiny in development, and so what do you do with those 600 to 800 people? And is that how many of those need to be staffed up for Marathon? And what do you do with the rest of them? And I think that also feels incredibly corporate-y, short-sighted, because if you want to do anything with that studio going forward, you know, providing some time and some space to curate and cultivate some new ideas is important. So yeah, that's the 1-2 punch around Bungie and Destiny this week, is that Destiny is getting its final update, and Bungie is looking at potential layoffs. Gentlemen, any thoughts here? I know we talked about this a little bit on Discord when it dropped. In some ways, it's not a surprise in terms of the support was not really there, but at the same time, like, it feels like the end of an era, and yeah, I think Real and 8, you say it well, right? You've got 2,500 hours between the two of them, but yeah, it's time to be done, time to move on to whatever comes next.
I mean, you kind of mentioned it, how you said you came in, in 2014, and it was released in September, or like that fall of that year, I think, right?
Yeah, September.
And I think, yeah, and then I guess their original plan, I don't even know if that was ever official or like made official, but they had that 10-year plan. Obviously, if that was a real thing, then obviously they've gone past that already, by a couple of years, just about. Yeah, I mean, so I mean, I think it had its time. It ran its course, and maybe some people might say it was a little over its course, but I, as much as I've had, it's well documented, my love-hate relationship with Destiny as a whole, not just Destiny 2, but I always enjoyed it, playing the game itself, like you said, like gunplay was always there. I mean, it's Halo, it's Bungie, excuse me, the Halo pedigree, so that was never really issues, just kind of the back end things that sometimes they did, like vaulting stuff and not just like weapons and stuff, like whole missions and stuff you couldn't go back and do at all. I guess my other question, and I don't know, I didn't get a chance to read the whole blog or any other articles or anything, but I'm assuming once it's done, I mean, you could still, would you be able to play the game, like just story wise? I'm assuming. Right?
Oh yeah, no, it's not going to be taken offline. It's just going into kind of maintenance mode. In terms of what's there will be there. They're going to discount all the existing packs that are available to buy. Like, it's still going to be, I mean, Destiny 1 is still supported. The servers are up and available there. So at least at this point, it's still going to be supported. I mean, it's still going to be up and running, not necessarily supported going forward.
Yeah, I wonder how long that'll go though, because I'm sure that's not a pretty penny there to keep up those servers.
I think that would be a significant question compared to Destiny and Bungie keeping Destiny 1 up and running now that they're under Sony. What that looks like.
Okay, next news story in the rundown is no, GTA 6 is not delayed again and still set to launch this November. This news story over on GameSpot by Evan Campbell. Take-Two Interactive has confirmed that Grand Theft Auto 6 is set to launch November 19th in the company's fiscal 2026 results briefing. The commitment comes roughly a year since the open world game was delayed to May 2026, which then led to another release date shift this past November. There were rumblings of another possible delay for Grand Theft Auto 6, especially with Rockstar's history. Additionally, it's now been over a year since the game has even gotten a new trailer. But Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick noted the highly anticipated title is sticking to November 19th in the results briefing. We believe fiscal 2027 will establish new record levels of operating performance driven by the November 19th launch of Grand Theft Auto 6, along with strong execution across our portfolio. So, I mean, my big takeaway for this is, Grand Theft Auto, as far as I know, this date has been out there. Like, when they delayed it to November 19th, 2026. What kills me and cracks me up about the rest of the industry is everyone's been acting like this date hasn't been announced, and so therefore hasn't announced their own dates. Like, you go to the Game Informer release list for this year, June has a bunch of stuff in it, but then you get to July, it's like 4 titles, 5 titles, and I'm like, now that we're on the eve of Summer Game Fest, I'm like, all right, everybody, come on, let's go. Like, everybody should be announcing their stuff now. The game's coming out in November. You know what you need to stay away from if you choose to stay away from it, or you could be bullish and just go right at it, assuming like your game isn't covered by the GTA demographic. Whatever you're going to do, let's go. The industry has been holding its breath, right, and strangling itself for the past year. Let's knock it off, right? The game's going to come out, let it go. So hopefully, we'll start to see more stuff being announced. Quite frankly, I hope Xbox announces everything. We know Gears of War is coming. We know Halo is coming. We know theoretically Fable's coming. Like, just put some dates on it. Like, get it over with. So hopefully that is what we're about to turn the corner into in the month of June. Any comments from you guys?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the scatter graph of where all the release dates hit compared to November 19th, and how far out people are going to try to get from it, and how close they're trying to get to it, depending on what type of game. But yeah, I think, as you said, right, we're coming into June and Summer Game Fest and lots of other announcements, so we should know more shortly.
And Tao, any comments?
No. We'll see. We'll see when it comes out.
Yeah, so I was looking up when is the cutoff date for the Game Awards this year. They haven't announced the cutoff date yet, I don't think. But that's one of my other things. It's like, for award season, it's kind of polite of Take-Two. I believe that the cutoff date will be after November 19th. So, as should be the case, in my opinion, GTA 6 isn't going to be in the Game of the Year conversation and shouldn't be. So it's nice that they delayed their date until theoretically after that cutoff date So everybody who's worried about critical acclaim can go ahead and, release their games. And then the November 19th is just about commercial performance and sales. So for that reason, I'm hoping people are willing to like dip into the month of November and, continue releasing games, and then, and just say, look, we're going to release the game so we can get the critical acclaim, at the TGAs and the gold joysticks. And then, we know we're going to be smothered by sales. So who cares? So we'll see if that's what they do. Next news story in the rundown is us turning our eye to PlayStation. So DBQ, you want to cover these?
Yeah, I guess I do. I don't sound super excited about this, but like some of this feels like more of the same, only applied to another space, right? So this week, Sony announced at the beginning of the week, you had a nice little message coming from Eurogamer in the Discord around Sony updating its prices on PlayStation Plus. This article comes out of GameIndustry.biz from Vicky Blake. This is initially earlier in the week, it was just confirmed that PlayStation Plus Essential, kind of the lowest tier, was going up $1 per month or a couple dollars every 3 months, and that the annual subscriptions were not going to be hit. So you use my yawn there. It's been a long outside weekend. But then later this week, we had confirmation that a similar increase is going to be hitting the two other tiers of PlayStation Plus. So this is the Essential and I'm trying to think of what the other two, the Essential, the
And
Premium. Yeah, right. Like basically, do you get streaming games for PlayStation 3? Do you get PlayStation 5 games to play and download? The various three different tiers of PlayStation's infrastructure is going to be going up a couple dollars every month as well. That PlayStation... Yeah. So again, I think that the thing that stood out to me in this is one, it was a good reminder to make sure that I lock in my cheaper PlayStation Plus Essential after having a discounted PlayStation Plus higher end tier for the last year and not using barely any of it. But also a reminder or a trigger to make me think, okay, so if this is based on like the rationale for the increase is quote unquote due to ongoing market conditions, that these are existing services that are running on existing server racks, more or less, that are not new shipping products or new shipping hardware. What is the market condition that impacts the change in price for an online gaming subscription? Like I know Game Logic, you're going to come at me with a technical question or a technical answer, which is great, which is why I pose it. But I also think like it's hard to justify, like I'm paying, and same is true with streaming services. Like you're going to charge me more, $2 more every month or every year because everything else is going up. What am I getting out of that increase?
You're probably not getting anything, and you're probably actually lucky that you're not losing stuff. So the bare minimum answer on like what is going up and what is changing, even without market conditions, right? Even without tariffs, even without the war in the Middle East, even without rising gas prices and the fact that it costs everything, like costs more to ship everything, but not only ship, but remember that generators that create electricity also run on gas. So
right. Yeah, just the sheer electrical costs of things.
Right. So the key component of the thing that's going up is cloud services. So PlayStation doesn't have their own cloud infrastructure. They run on AWS. AWS is increasing prices just as surely as your rent price on an apartment would go up every year. And sometimes those prices balloon depending on what service, right? And if you've ever looked at like how cloud services are packaged, right? When you order cloud services, particularly when you're an enterprise, you're ordering like 39 bajillion different SKUs of different AWS cloud services. And so those things only increase like by a penny here and there, but those suckers add up, right? And then you're also paying for redundancy. So I mean, that's the key component, right? That's going up at the very, very like base level. But then, like I said, then you add all these exacerbating economic conditions on top of it. That's why it's going up. I'm sure someone's going to accuse me of being biased against Xbox, but I'm like, that's a little different than with Xbox, where they're running on their own infrastructure and they're using their own spare capacity that they have to build because they have to provide redundancy to customers to run their gaming service. So there's a little bit of a cost savings that they are getting internally to that, but they're still passing those costs on right to consumers, so, along with all the other stuff, that they're licensing. At the end of the day, it's just like you said, right? This is, prevailing market conditions. It's the same thing. Disney, Netflix, HBO Max, Paramount, like everybody says this, and it's just the rising, nickel and dime, penny ante, $1 here, $1 there, price increases that go along with all streaming services. And that's not me justifying it. And you can corroborate that it's not me justifying it because I'm not subscribed to Game Pass and I'm not subscribed to PlayStation Plus. So this doesn't personally impact me or bother me, right? Like my explanation, there's too often that people assume that explaining why something is happening means that you're justifying it. One of my big things is no one as an individual justifies price increases. The market justifies the price increase. If the market accepts it, that means that the market considers that the price is justified. So, these things will happen periodically. I think the track record of PlayStation in comparison to Game Pass is that the price increases are less frequent and typically not as exacerbated. And the key thing, I think, with the PlayStation service is that PlayStation does allow you to buy in for a full year at a discount, whereas that same mechanism is not in place on Game Pass. Game Pass, you pay monthly, and so the fee is whatever the fee is. There's no way to buy increased capacity and get a discount at an annual basis. I guess you can do quarterly, I think, with Game Pass.
Yeah, right. Or not directly from Microsoft. Like you could find some cards out other places. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like it's not a surprise. This is part of the market. That doesn't necessarily, being able to explain it and feeling good about it don't necessarily need to be the same thing, right?
Which is why I'm not subscribed.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, very true. So I'm going to grab the other Sony story here, just because for the sake of time, so that we head into the final segment. This is also from GameIndustry.biz. Earlier this spring, last month or so, 2 months ago at this point, it was rumored coming out of Bloomberg that Sony was going to back off releasing things on PC. And now we have Herman Holtz saying that that is actually the case, and that they are no longer going to be, that they will now be PlayStation exclusive, and not bringing major PC franchises over to PC. Like they split a couple hairs here in terms of saying major, like multiplayer focus games like Helldivers or Marathon still have the ability to come day and date to PC. They also split a few hairs here, which is completely reasonable, that this does not mean forever and ever more. This means like right now. This is our current industry position as we prepare to ramp up for the launch of a PlayStation 6, that we want you to be focused on buying a PlayStation console and not waiting to play the PlayStation games on a PC. That doesn't mean like, just like in this generation, after the PS5 was matured and releases were out there for a number of years, that they moved over and ported stuff to PC for additional revenue generation. And it wouldn't surprise me if in 5 years from now, after we're 3 years into the launch of PlayStation 6, that they start talking about bringing things over to PC in terms of just expanding the audience, getting a second bump of sales. So anything surprising here, gentlemen, before we move on? To me, this is more of, we don't necessarily talk about intentionally. We don't talk about rumors, and so we didn't cover this the first time. And now that it's been documented, bringing it up in terms of a news story.
Ish. Like the one caveat I would say is we still do not have an official statement from PlayStation. This is still a report from Jason Schreier based on what he's found. Now, of late, I have improved my perspective of Jason Schreier, at least what he's reporting. I think it's much, the things he's reporting now are much more investigative and less try to create a story, right? So, I mean, I fully believe this is accurate, but I will say just for the record that it is still based off of a report technically from an insider. So I think it's I'm not making a big wailing and gnashing of teeth about it because we are, again, on the eve of Summer Game Fest, which the other eve of that is the Sony Investor Week of town hall meetings. And so I'm hoping and theorizing that sometime in the month of June, we will hear something that corroborates this aspect a little bit more from their strategy. That is a little bit more of an official statement. Okay, Tao, any questions or comments about either one of those two news stories?
I thought I had. Let me go back to my notes here. Oh, I was just gonna say, at least with the PlayStation Plus, excuse me, price increase. It's not a huge increase. Like it's $1 for like a monthly. I know $1 is $1, but still, and then $3 I think for the 3-month subscription service. So I mean, you can look at it on the bright side compared to like Xbox where it was like a 10. Well, they walked back their increase, but still, it's still a fairly large increase compared to this one.
Yes, coming from a jaded Xbox fan, like jumping $1 compared to jumping $10 is significant. Yep.
The internet these days, there's very much I call it the anti-capitalist movement, which is to create vast outcry about any price increase, regardless of scope. And so the problem with that is that there's zero sensitivity to like things that matter versus things that actually don't. Like if they had raised the price by $0.25, everybody would still be yelling and screaming just as loudly. So yeah, it's like, I'm like, what is it like? What does your yelling and screaming matter anymore? Like if it goes up, you're going to, so at any rate,
logic. Hold on. I just want to take a minute here. Capitalist economics are based on rational actors. And I think the internet has proven that we as a society are not very good at being rational actors around economic conditions.
Not speaking about it at any rate. That's and again, that's the problem, is that we will speak about it and then the market will respond vastly differently, and then people seem to then lose track, like why what they said doesn't match with what actually happened. And I'm like, that's because what you said was absolute foolishness, not bounded in things that Adam Smith taught us 250 years ago. But at any rate, let's go ahead and head into our last segment of the night, which is entirely given up for Tao, who will be talking about the other things, theoretically smaller things, that he's been spending his time playing the last week.
Yeah, so I jumped back into Ball Pit. They had their Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade, I think a month or two ago. I didn't get a chance to play it then, but I downloaded it a couple nights ago and have been playing the last couple nights. So it doesn't look a lot better. Like before, it was not pixelated, but it was more kind of like fuzzy, almost like the graphics. And now it's like crystal clear, almost cell shady, kind of a look to it. I guess I'd always kind of had that, but it seems even more prominent now when I've been playing it now. So it runs as far as like gameplay, I mean, it always ran pretty smooth. I thought when playing on the Nintendo Switch too, but now it's like, silky smooth, like no problems. And I finally beat the first board or the first level, I guess that you go the first boss that you go against is a giant skeleton thing that you get to the end of the at the end of that first level. So I was able to beat that, and now I can like you can dive deeper into the pit, as it were, but which basically just gives you a new map to play on. So I didn't get a chance to beat or even try that one yet, so I'm not sure what that entails. Just kind of I built out my little town area, whatever you want to call it. So I got a couple more buildings. I think no, I didn't get any more crops or any kind of like consumables. So just a couple more buildings I was able to add on to. So I did that. But yeah, I having just fun with that, and just with all the power ups and stuff like that. So it's cool. I'm really enjoying Ball Pit right now on the Switch 2. And then just the other two games I've been playing. I kind of started playing Ball Pit just because I hadn't really played anything else other than these next two games I've been playing. Only because I was like kind of super busy during the weekend, and just by the time I got a chance to play something, I was just like kind of wanna with one of them, I guess, kind of relax. But this next one, Battlefield 6 Redsec, they have a new ranked match or mode that you can do in Redsec, which is their battle royal mode. So I've been trying that out, and it's just the people I get put with. I don't understand. Like, it happens with every game I play. I'm starting to think maybe I'm just bad, and that's why I'm with these bad people. Like, I don't know anymore. I'm starting to get to that mentality, but I still have fun with just the game itself. At least in this mode, unlike with Call of Duty, what is it called? Warzone. I can get more than just one kill in a match usually, so it's kind of nice. Not to say it's easier, I guess, but I don't know. Maybe it is. Who knows? Once again, it might be my play style, or just my level of play. But it's just a lot more fun than I had with Warzone, and just more enjoyable. Still really haven't seen any other than that one new vehicle. I didn't really notice anything else new within the second season that they just started, I think a couple weeks ago. But I haven't really played anything other than the Redsec mode. I haven't played just regular multiplayer. So just kind of puts along in the battle royal mode. So it's still, even though yeah, go ahead.
Chow, I didn't talk about Black Ops 7 tonight, although I have been playing. But you are. It's not just you. It's like it's people playing the game who just don't care. Like, I am brazenly reminded of losing kill confirm matches, and then I quickly at the after action report tally the total number of kills, and I'm like, we've got 50 more kills, and I'm like, you guys weren't playing bad. You guys, your movement kiddies running around worrying about your KD, not picking up tags. Like, pick up the tags, like, or losing a domination match or a hard point match by like 100 points. And I'm like, I'm constantly assaulting the hard point. And I'm like, every time I show up, I'm like, I'm literally like the only person from my team I see assaulting a hard point, because everybody else is running around off axis trying to get their KD up. And I'm like, you guys just don't care. It's super frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of goes back too, because another one I didn't put on here was Marvel Rivals. I've been playing a lot too this past week, or a good bit of, I should say. And going into that rank match, and I was actually playing with one of my friends, and it's just like, what are you guys doing? Like nobody is like working as a team, and it almost seems like, and I guess obviously this is always the case. Obviously, if you have a whole team that you can actually be on comms with, it's going to be a whole lot better. But I don't know if there's any way, and there's got to be a way, because there's party system within the game itself. It always seems like we're against people that are obviously have to be talking to each other, because they're like super coordinated, and like if I'm playing like a tank and I jump in maybe into the back line, like instantly, like everybody's on me. So it's like I don't know, it's just kind of frustrating. It gets frustrating at times. So I think that's probably why I bounce around shooters, because it's like one frustrates me, so I'll just jump into another one until I'm frustrated with that one. But and then the third game I've been playing is Tomodachi Living the Dream on the Nintendo Switch 2. Once again, just Nintendo Sims, so I just kind of mess around in that world, and just goofy stuff that happens in there. It's just it's just hilarious. And usually I'll jump on there like almost every night, and just play with it for like an hour, and go through all my little me characters that have been created, and just kind of see what their lives are like in this in this island life. So it's just kind of funny. So and one correction, I had mentioned that I hadn't unlocked the what I thought was the interior customization is actually an exterior customization you can do at some point, and I still haven't unlocked it. I'm like level, I think 60 now in that game, so I don't know if I have to, what I'm doing wrong. Maybe I'll have to look it up just eventually, just to see why that hasn't unlocked yet. So I'm assuming I can probably maybe put stuff on the houses and maybe change colors and stuff. I don't even know yet. So right now I can only change the interior like a whole room at a time. And then just, themed rooms that they give you kind of like an Animal Crossing. So that you can change around. But yeah, still enjoying that. Still having a lot of fun.
Yeah, and your comment about squads again painfully reminds me of how I lost a match when I had a squad of 4 on my team. I wasn't in their party, but I saw them like assigned to my team. I'm like, oh, we got these dudes are 4 out of 6 people on this team all on comms. We should handily win because we're fighting a bunch of randos and we lose. And I'm like, how you guys are all on comms? Like, what's going on? But yeah, games are fun. One alibi that I'll mention today, because it strangely enough got announced today, I guess during a Rocket League Ultimate Championship series that's going on over in Paris. And I won't get into tons of detail, but Epic Games announced the debut of Unreal Engine 6. So we are firmly in a new generation, or heading towards a new generation of graphics engine technology. And despite the internet grousing about any introduction of any new technology, despite the fact of being gamers and being heavily ensconced in the technology space, to me, it's an exciting time because we don't know what the integration with GPUs is going to look like and what it means for the next generation of consoles. It could be fairly amazing. Unreal Engine 5 has definitely had its problems. It's definitely an engine that is problematic for certain teams to deal with when they don't know how to take advantage of all its technologies, but it has also rendered some incredible graphical experiences. And in particular has allowed small teams who do harness that technology to step up and create amazing experiences at the scale of teams that are 200, 300 developers. So I am very excited. That technology is debuting in the upcoming update of Rocket League. So Tao, I assume you will probably be the first of us who gets a taste of it.
Nice. Yeah. I know they were going to have, well, there was speculation of some kind of announcement during that. I didn't realize it was going to be something like that, like a whole new graphics engine or the newest iterations of Unreal Engine. That's pretty cool. Because I know a lot of people complain, well, obviously it's the internet, but about Rocket League's engine kind of being dated. So that should be a big boost for them. Interesting. Man, it seems like just yesterday that 5 came out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they just upgraded it to 5. Yeah. When they did that when they did the integrations with Fortnite, right?
Yeah, that was a big announcement for Fortnite during their their Epic, whatever, their direct or like developer direct kind of thing that they have every year. So I'm surprised they didn't keep it for that, which probably would have been within a month or so anyways, but it's cool. Can't wait.
Yeah, well, that's the theory, is that Fortnite won't be too far behind because they are. I guess there's rumblings that they're supposedly integrating them into a common launcher. That it will be a lot of those Epic games as a service, that you'll launch which I'm like.
So
you mean
like COD, like one thing?
I mean, I guess they say like in a unified launcher. I'm like, you mean like the Epic Game Store launcher when they already existed? So, fine, but yeah, it should be interesting. Anything else before we go into the significant releases for the week?
No, not for me.
No, I just want to call out Soldier for Life's hitting platinum on Arc Raiders. Congrats. Also, wasn't game Tao? Is Cyclops out yet, or are you still? Is that later this season when Cyclops hits?
Yeah, he'll be mid-season. Yeah.
Okay.
The rumor supposedly is he's going to be a strategist, which is basically a healer in the Marvel Rivals. So that should be
Okay.
interesting if that's the case.
Just
And
I
I
wanted to
believe
follow up
yes.
because you had mentioned him a couple weeks ago when you talked about it. So
Yeah, I think there's like probably another 2, maybe 3 weeks before he'll come out.
okay. Thanks.
All right, rounding things out for the show, significant releases for this week, which is short. We've got the big one. We've got 007 First Light coming out on May 27th for PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. And then interestingly enough, we also have Stray finally landing on the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out the following day on May 28th. So very, very interesting, cozy game that should pair very well with the Switch 2 in handheld mode. So that should be interesting. And yeah, I don't know that I'm going to have time in my personal slate and schedule to get to 007 First Light, but it is a title that in general I'm very excited about, and I've been more and more excited about it the more I hear of it. I guess I was really impressed by the way the dev team and IO Interactive handled. They had a leak because some people apparently who had ordered the collector's edition got their discs early, and so they were like, hey, since people have this and stuff is going to get out in the wild, we're just going to go ahead and show. I think they did like they showed video for like the introductory level, like the first 15 minutes of gameplay or something like that. So I thought that was an interesting way to handle it. That is going to wrap us up for this evening. DBQ or Tao, anything else you guys need to add?
No, I mean, it feels like we talked about a lot, but it feels like we moved pretty quickly tonight. So
next weekend will be our last kind of regular topical show, because the week after that, Summer Games Fest kicks off with the PlayStation State of Play on Tuesday, June 2nd, and then Summer Game Fest opening night on Friday, June 5th. The Xbox show on Sunday, June 7th. And then I don't know if they've announced a release date, announced a date, but I'm pretty sure there's a Nintendo Direct coming in mid-June. And then, of course, the Future Game Show is I think that's Saturday. So tons of coverage. The world will be rendered asunder. The agenda will look different. We'll just have too much stuff to cover. But we will figure it out. We will be airing. It just won't be the regular standard E2KG format. It'll be something slightly different. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining in. If you happen to watch the recorded version of this episode, please feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can just receive a notification whenever we post new content. Once again, my name is Big Game Logic from the Rounding Off Infinity Gaming channel on YouTube, one of the co-hosts of the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast and the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube. My two stalwart partners in crime, Mr. DBQ Hams and Tao Master 99. Next week, DBQ will have the helm while Tao and I pitch, back up, and assist. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. Play the games that you like. Come here to talk to us about the games that you love. Until next time, good night, good luck, and good gaming. That's going to do it for us. We're out of here.